All right, ladies and germs, we're back. We haven't done one of these in a while, but welcome back to Story Archives. And this is going to be a series that I've never done before, but what I'm going to tentatively call Mario's mini movie reviews. So get your hot cup of coffee, just one cup. It's going to be a short form episode because, yeah, I've been watching too many movies lately, too many TV shows, and just have not had the time with work to get on here and record, to do like a 40-minute thing that you're traditionally used to seeing on Story Archives, right? We usually do longer reviews, longer reactions. Like the minimum of our episodes are usually around 30 minutes. Like if you're getting the lesser than 30 minutes one, then good luck. But this series is going to be specifically for my unbridled thoughts, my unprepared thoughts, my straight from the dome soliloquies, or maybe not as polished as a Shakespeare sonnet, but it's going to just be straight from the dome, my review of things that I've seen. So my bed is unkept. It's Saturday morning. It is a slept-in Saturday morning. My room is a mess. Everything's a mess, but my thoughts are in order because I did watch a movie last night called The Map That Leads to You. And funny enough, this channel being known for kind of like the tough guy sci-fi shows, we kicked off our channel with Peaky Blinders. It's funny that we open our mini review series with a romance. It's not a rom-com, I'll tell you that. It's definitely in the romance ilk. So I have the IMDb pulled up for any sort of references I need to make. And I'm going to give my little bit of a review because I think, let's start off here. Do I agree or disagree with the 6.3 out of 10 from IMDb on The Map That Leads to You, which movie is streaming on Amazon Prime. So if you do have a Prime membership, you can get it through there. Amazon does put ads on their I guess lowest tier, so do keep that in mind. It's really not a big deal. Kind of takes you back to the old days of TV, which is, if you have an Amazon account, a little bit useful because they do just give you the opportunity to put things in your cart from the movie screen. I awkwardly hold my cup of coffee throughout this episode, but let's get into it. So The Map That Leads to You. Rom-com, PG-13, hour and 36 minutes. So nice little clean 2 hours. Lately, I feel like that's impossible to get. Starring, I'm not even going to say the up-and-coming. She's very much arrived. Madeline Klein and KJ Apa, who I am less familiar with, but who plays a good lead here. He is the male romantic interest. He's in a show called Riverdale, which I believe Zach is, who's the co-host. If this is your first time listening to this show, he is the co-host of Story Archives. I believe he's a Riverdale fan, but I could be wrong. Nonetheless, The Map That Leads to You, I believe it released like pretty recently, if not like very, very recently, although I can't find a release date on here at the moment. But it's kind of a trend I'm seeing with Amazon Prime lately, I guess from the success of The Summer I Turned Pretty. They're kind of just going all in on the romance, the yearny. This isn't really teenage. This is more young adult. My demographic, so to speak. So this is like your 20 to 35 demographic here. About a young girl played by Madeline Klein named Heather, who's essentially graduated and gotten her master's. She's from Texas, so she's kind of like a homegrown, wholesome girl who likes all her plans put in order and everything, in place at all times, dotting her I's, crossing her T's. And so she's taking one last hurrah with her girlfriends from college to Europe to sort of just explore all of Europe before she takes this banking job, which, you leave the movie feeling a little bit bad for bankers, because bankers and accountants, no offense to any of you who are out there, I feel like oftentimes Hollywood is poking fun at y'all. There's a moment in this movie where her father, played by Josh Lucas, who's in a million great things. I mean, he's in Sweet Home Alabama. He plays a younger, what the hell is the name? A younger John Dutton in Yellowstone. He's in Ford vs. Ferrari. He plays Leo Beebe in that. You see him everywhere. In fact, early in his career, I used to think him, when I was a kid, I used to think him and McConaughey were like the same person. But no, he's very much his own right. He plays a likable father, which I feel like is hard to find these days in movies, where, I don't know, I feel like it's just hard to find like likable fathers in movies these days. But I do feel like romance movies tend to have them. And I've been watching a lot of movies lately. So I did watch 10 Things I Hate About You for the first time. It had been on my list forever. And I think might be going into like the grail list of some of my favorites. And yeah, I don't think I watched another one. So maybe I haven't watched too many romance, but I did watch Superman recently. I've been watching Wednesday. Um, I saw, what else did I watch? I saw The Brutalist the other day, which I would like to do a mini review on The Brutalist, which is way more complex, a way deeper film, but not necessarily a more enjoyable film. Like I will say, like, this is the type of movie that Matt, at least you get your takeout. You either watch it solo and you get a little bit of you get a Kleenex box, or you watch it with a friend and you enjoy it. Because I was talking to my friend Lauren, and she wasn't going to watch this movie because she thought, it was going to be very sad. And albeit it is sad, and here come the spoilers, but, Madeline's character meets KJ, whose name is Jack. And Jack is essentially this kid he's not a kid, he's, literally probably my age. He's traveling from New Zealand, where he's originally from, and following his grandfather's journal, who's a World War II vet and had a very Hemingway-esque experience through Europe. Which, by the way, me, who's a mega Hemingway fan, and the book is very much, the movie is very much like feels of the ilk of like The Sun Also Rises in some way. Not literally, not like actually in a lot of ways, no, but they open it up where they're both reading The Sun Also Rises, and so immediately I'm like, all right, these are my people. But he's essentially trying to honor his grandfather in some way by going through his journal and visiting all the places he's written down, which is a curveball for Heather, our main protagonist, because she's there for a very structured trip with her two girlfriends. One of them is like recovering from a cheating boyfriend, so she's hooking up with everybody left and right. And then her other friend, who I don't remember her name, but she's kind of like the more wholesome friend who finds love there as well, who happens to also be Jack's friend. And they kind of become like the more wholesome, healthy dynamic of the entire group for the most part, while the other one is off doing a pilgrimage after banging the first guy in sight after her cheating thing. But you know what? Credit to this movie, because about 45 minutes in, she's like, you know what? Maybe healing from my cheating ex is probably not best to just be hooking up with everybody in sight. So I'll actually go and do something and look for, for deeper meaning in life rather than cheap flings. But nonetheless, her cheap fling leads to the financing of the rest of the movie for our main characters. And so the whole thing is pretty much like it's just very romantic, I'll be honest with you. And it seems like 2025's attempt at Richard Linklater's, Before series, which I've only seen the first of the three of the Before series, but I own all three, which is the movie with Ethan Hawke, where he's a young guy and he meets a girl on a train in Vienna, and they spend 24 hours in Vienna, or just a night in Vienna before their train takes off the next morning. And that's essentially what this movie is. It's a girl who's supposed to go back like a day later. She decides to stay in Europe with Jack and travels with him. But the caveat that nobody knows is, while she has the banking job in New York, he has a rare form of cancer that is slowly killing him. And so, you have what should be a sadder ending ends up being a more hopeful ending, because I thought the message altogether was good. This was a girl who was doing things for what she thought was making her father proud. And her dad was like, no, I just want you to do what you do. I'll be proud of you if you're doing what you're doing. So, all the bankers in the world revolted at the sight of the constant shade being thrown at the banking job in New York. And she decides to go and follow Jack after he abandons her at the airport. So essentially, while the movie's a little bit half-baked in the beginning, they very much rush the love story between Jack and Heather. So you're like, is it that serious? Like, they're getting into some arguments on top of Gotti's, one of Gotti's work. And you're kind of thinking to yourself, like, you guys just met. Are you really that in love at this moment? But no, I think the whole idea is that, when you meet somebody who kind of like is just on your wavelength, you're just like, maybe some of you out there understand this. Like, you'll meet certain people who you absolutely have zero chemistry with. And then you meet some people out there who you're like, wow, this person, we just resonate. We resonate on whatever this is. Like, we got good chemistry, whether that's a friend or whether it's a girlfriend or a boyfriend or whatever. It's just true. So these two have that kind of electric chemistry. I also don't know what's up with Madeline Klein and falling for guys with treasure maps. That's like an Outer Banks reference right there. But I gotta say, I underestimated her acting chops. I did underestimate them. I thought maybe she might have been more pretty girl than actress, but there's moments in this where I'm like, okay, all right, you got some range. I could see it. More introspective because in Outer Banks she's very much like feels like she's on the banks, literally like kind of a shallowish character in a lot of Outer Banks. But I feel like the stuff I've seen her in lately, she's diving a little deeper. So, anyways, aside from the half-baked beginning where you feel like you don't really buy their romance very much at first, especially nowadays, because the way they meet is the guy essentially sleeps on top of her, not literally on top of her, but where she's sitting in the train, he literally goes and sleeps in the luggage carrier. I feel like in almost no scenario in life is that going to be your opener when you're going to go up and like talk to a girl. Like I just think 9.5 times out of 10 that ain't happening. The only way it does happen is if you catch a girl on her last day in Europe and she's just looking for, a memory, But nonetheless, the memory turns into a lifetime because that's a bar. Because he does stick with her, and then what turns into kind of like an unbelievable, like, I'm not buying these two together, does turn into like an actual romantic trip where deeper feelings develop and you're actually seeing their love story take place, all the way up to the point where he actually commits to go to New York with her. And right before he's about to board the plane, he gets a call from his doctor from God knows where and tells him like, you need to call me. You've been avoiding us. So, mind you, the guy also is wearing like a $10,000 watch on his wrist. So I don't know if he's like a trust fund baby or what, but he is traveling the world with no job. At first, I thought he was an expat, like a veteran. So I thought he was kind of living off of like a veteran's salary, which I was like, that makes sense. But I don't know what he does, to be honest with you. And then his friend's getting married in like this French vineyard at the end that is got to be like $100,000 venue, maybe more. So altogether, I don't know where the people are getting the money in this movie to be doing the things that they were doing. But it seems like everybody who was traveling was rich in some way. So he does leave her at the airport last minute, which leads to like an introspective bit for her, which love it or hate it, it happens. You kind of understand from an honorable perspective, he doesn't want her to watch him die. He doesn't want to be selfish in that way. But for her, she goes back home and she can't get over him. And you get this nice heartfelt moment between her and her dad when she goes home for Christmas, which is a great Christmas scene, by the way. I love me a Christmas scene in a movie. And it felt like a very homey home. You know what I mean? Like the Christmas tree was there, the lights were dim, you had the old style quilted blankets on the couch. And he ultimately does give her, he gives her the advice that to not look back in bitterness towards this guy, right? Because she's heartbroken over him. She doesn't understand. She got no answer why he abandoned her. But he did give her a gift of what it was like to live without a plan because he was literally living like it was his last day. And so she goes back to France because the more wholesome of the two friends gets married in France. I don't know where the hell they got married. I'll be honest. I thought it was France. I might be generalizing. It might have been somewhere else. But either way, it doesn't matter because Jack does leave her a note because the guy is Mr. Mystery. So if she asked about him, which I can respect, you know what I mean? Girls be a little bit flaky these days. I'm only speaking for the men here. I can't speak for the women, but he told his boy who's getting married to Heather's girl. He said, "Hey, if she asks about me, give her this note. If she doesn't, baya, ella. That is what it is." So she does ask about him, which means that she actually cares about him because she loves him. He gives her the note, which is the confession that Jack is dying, essentially. Like, hey, if you didn't get over me by now, you're probably still thinking about me. I might as well tell you, like, I'm dying. So, which leads to her making a rash decision to go to the one part of Spain that they hadn't visited yet, which their grandfather had talked about. And she sees him there. And seemingly they live happily ever after until either he passes away or a miracle occurs where the cancer recedes. But that's the end of the movie. And I was led into this movie thinking that he was going to die. So I was thinking it was going to be very, very depressing. And nonetheless, it is depressing that he has a sickness. But nonetheless, it is beautiful that they found love in the process. and that she's willing to be there for him in that, like regardless of that. So altogether, I think IMDb is tripping with a 6.3 out of 10. I'm going to give this one. Well, we got to figure out what the ranking system is going to be on the mini reviews, because an 8 is crazy. I feel like an 8 has got to be damn near award winning. So we can't put it in the 8s, but we're going to put it in the 7s. And I don't like doing the 0.3. Like, who do they think they are with the 0.3s? Let's do it in increments of 5. 0.5. I'm going to give it a 7 out of 10. 7 out of 10. The map that leads to you, and hopefully the map that leads you to this podcast. And my mini reviews. Who doesn't love a movie about getting lost in Europe? I think that's everybody's fantasy. This is going to be the after show now. Yeah. So anything that ticks that box of like your, impromptu, because I'm, there's two types of people. I do think that there are the Heathers of the world and the Jacks of the world. The Jacks kind of don't like to plan their vacations. That's me. What I like to do with my vacation is I like to essentially get like a piece of paper and put like 4 cities on a map and say, I want to go to these 4 cities. How I get there? Irrelevant. As long as I get to those 4 cities. I do know I want to go to those 4 cities and I want to do 1 or 2 things in each of those cities. But I don't care how I get there, how long I'm there. If the vibe's not great, we move on to the next place. I like traveling like that. I'm not much of an itinerary traveler. In fact, I don't like traveling with itinerary people. No offense. It is nice to have a little bit of an itinerary, but I'm talking about the people who are like, we got to get to the hotel breakfast by 8 and we got a tour at 12. Like, oh God, leave me alone. I didn't go on vacation or work. Like, that's not a vacation to me. A vacation to me is, I'm always about walking distance to a beach. I'm doing what the hell I want when I want. I'm staying up late, drinking in the various bars and places around. I'm meeting random strangers. That to me is a vacation. A proper get lost recharge. Anyways, I'll take one last sip of coffee because these should be micro episodes. And I'm going to keep this one. Oh my God, I still hit 20. Damn it, I can talk. One last sip of coffee for the road. Thank you all for tuning in. If you enjoyed this Mario mini review, hit subscribe, hit the like button, and join us for more. We are currently doing long form coverage on The Foundation on Apple TV, and there are a million more shows coming out this year, which you can find on an episode we dropped about the 2025 calendar, which is getting larger and larger and larger as I'm seeing the movie and TV releases coming out. So stay tuned. I think I'm going to do more of these mini reviews. Let me know how you like them. Let me know what you thought about the map that leads to you. And maybe you're a new type of audience member on the Story Archives, a fellow romantic. Let me know what you thought about it and how it stacks up against other romances in your book. All right, until next time, have a great weekend and stay safe.